jumping. It sucks the light out if I have to come over here. Both of them.
You just close down enough.
Okay, I apologize, but the meeting will come to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Senator Albritton? Senator Coleman Madison?
Here.
Senator Figures? Senator Gavan? Senator Marsh? Senator Orr? Senator Sanders Fortier? Senator Singleton? Senator Smitherman? Senator Stutz? Senator Barfoot? Senator Watley?
Here.
I am physically and visually and physically here.
Gotcha.
I love it. Thank you, Senator Albritton. Before we get started with the first bill, I have a few announcements. My little girl is 36 weeks now. I have pictures here. There you go. The appropriate thing to say is it's a very cute little baby. There you go. Precious, adorable. There you go, Senator Gavan. What bill do you want to discuss today? And then we also have a birthday in the crowd today. Senator Smitherman, happy birthday. And I think we have something for Senator Smitherman here.
Hey, I'm taking presents.
Come on.
I'm taking presents. Have been on the prevailing side. Mostly two people sit up.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Senator Smitherman. Happy birthday to you. Oh, that's sweet.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. It's a birthday to remember.
There you go. And Senator Van, we know you had one last week. So, there you go. There. I wasn't saying that, Senator Morse, but you got the point across. There are sweet treats in the back for people that vote correctly today. How about that? All righty. So we're going to go a little bit of order here to get a couple of bills that I have been told were non-controversial. We'll always see about that. If the clerk could call House Bill 70 first.
HB 70 by Representative Reynolds.
Senator Smitherman. Okay, Senator, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. HB 70 updates language in our current involuntary civil commitment law related to persons needing immediate mental health care. This bill supports everything that we're doing in Alabama through mental health related to our crisis intervention facilities. You know, we're building 4 of those throughout Alabama. This bill is about, first of all, decreasing, what can be volatile interactions between law enforcement and those suffering from mental health. But it also expedites the process so that we're not putting them in our jails, county jails, city jails, and we're getting them to immediate treatment. The bill calls for a 24-hour or next business day review by a probate judge. This bill has been worked on by the Probate Judges Association, endorsed by them, state mental health, and NAMI as well.
Thank you very much. I've had experience with this too. I move favorable report. Second by Senator Smitherman. All those in favor of this bill favorable report signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The bill receives a favorable report. Thank you very much. And I didn't mention anything, but my beautiful wife Lauren sitting in the back, and she's carrying the baby. So I'm not doing anything but just showing off pictures. Okay, and if the clerk could call House Bill 68 by Representative Simpson, and I think Senator Figures, think you're handling that one? Representative Simpson, you would ask for this bill to come up?
Yes, I did. I didn't know you were going to get to it so quickly. Yes, this is a bill that allows for a criminal procedure to allow for a protected person to be offered protection in the criminal prosecutions. I did carry the bill in the Senate, and it passed out. I would like to ask for favorable report.
A report by Senator Figures, second by Senator Gavan. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing no discussion on the bill, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Bill receives a favorable report. Thank you, Representative Simpson. Good job. Thank you, Senator Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if the clerk could call the first bill on the calendar.
HB 272 by Representative Stringer.
Representative Stringer. Okay, here's what we're going to do, Representative Stringer. We're going to have a public hearing call on this first. So the way I would like to do this, and you can have a seat, is that I'd like to have the public hearing first, and we have several people who have asked to speak at the public hearing. What I would like the committee to do is listen to the people that are testifying, and then let's not ask the testifying party any questions right away. At that time, after the public hearing is over, I'd like to move to Representative Stringer to present his bill. At any time during his testimony, if you would like to ask a question, get my attention, and we'll interrupt him to let you ask your question, because I know sometimes questions asked are pertinent at the particular time the party is testifying about a bill. After he has done that, if you have questions for the people testifying, we'll bring them back up and ask them questions that are pertinent to what you have to ask. There may be some amendments on the bill. After all that is done, we will entertain any amendments that come up and then proceed with the bill for how we want to handle it. Is that agreeable with the committee? Okay, thank you very much. We have several people who signed up, but we're going to have 3 from each side testify. The first side is a proponent, Gene. Okay, thank you. Come up to introduce yourself to the committee, tell us where you're from, and sir, we have a limit here around 2 minutes on a testimony, okay?
I'll go quickly.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gene Pitkowski. I'm from Childersburg and also a member of Bama Carey. On September of 2015, the Attorney General of Alabama petitioned the ATF to allow our pistol permits to be used as evidence of a background check because it's required by statute that the sheriff conduct this check before he issues a pistol permit. On February of 2016, the ATF agreed and sent a letter to all of the gun dealers letting them know what the new policy was. Then in July of 2019, the ATF wrote another open letter to all of the dealers telling them that forget what we said before, we're rescinding that order and you have to run this check on every transaction. In that letter, they pointed out for a reason that the ATF has determined, notwithstanding the express requirements of Alabama Code 13A 1175, that the Alabama pistol permits are being issued and continue to be issued to individuals without the completion of a NIST check. So that kind of slowed things down. In March of 2020, Bama Carey issued a Freedom of Information request and got the background information on the ATF's ruling. What they found was in 2016, 22 out of the 67 sheriffs were not running a background check. They were issuing permits without following the procedure. Then they did another audit in 2019, and they found that 17 sheriffs generated over 215,000 permits without running a background check. And if they can't play by the rules, then the ATF says, forget it. We don't trust the Alabama pistol permit as being evidence of a background check. In Alabama, the pistol permit generates over $20 million of revenue. This revenue flows directly into the sheriff's discretionary fund. And that's great. They should have every penny they can get. When we passed the bill in the House, the next day on February 23rd, Alabama.com has a big banner headline, Alabama lawmakers just kneecapped Alabama's thin blue line with a tire iron. Well, that wasn't fair at all. Number one, the state police don't get any of this funds. The local sheriffs, the local police don't get it. Only the sheriffs get the money.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it, buddy.
Well, all right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks very much for talking. How about we have Mr. Sonny Brassfield come up and talk to us now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I've been before this committee on several occasions and just want to again reiterate the association's support of the position of law enforcement here in Alabama. We recognize that there are differing opinions on this issue, but where we sit, the sheriffs and law enforcement is perhaps the most important function of county government in Alabama, and their opinions with regard to the impact that this bill might have on public safety and on the safety of citizens, we encourage you to give great weight to that. I would like to point out one other issue with the bill that hopefully could be considered by the committee if you look at amendments today. On page 5 in the list of places where guns are prohibited. Today, a courthouse annex is one of those places without any definition. The bill as passed by the House adds a definition that requires that the courthouse annex be in the courthouse complex or judicial complex. And certainly most of the courthouse annexes are not adjacent to the courthouse. they were moved to another location because there's not enough space around the courthouse. So we would encourage you to consider an amendment that would be more reflective of the duties or the services that are provided, such as probate hearings, the collection of ad valorem taxes, those kinds of things that are usually in the courthouse annex, and most of the time the annex is not adjacent to the courthouse, and that terminology would exclude almost every courthouse annex in the state. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Eddie Fulmer, please.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Eddie Fulmer. Of course, I'm a president of Bama Carey, and today I would like to step back just a little bit, about 10 years, and just say that we have begged a Republican supermajority for a little tidbit of our freedom returned to us, while other states are busy doing that exact same thing. In Alabama, we are the "we dare defend our rights" state, but yet we want people to prove and show papers that we're allowed to carry a weapon for self-defense, or we're a criminal. I don't think, gentlemen, that we are so low in our citizenship that we should be asking the government if we can carry a weapon for self-defense. 21 states have passed similar bills what you look at today. No one has blood in the streets. 21 other states have debunked the scare tactics time and again. Today, constitutional carry, those who oppose constitutional carry, you've heard, and you'll hear some more. Two of those constitutional carry states, Tennessee and Mississippi, border us with Georgia, just now passing constitutional carry out of the Senate. And Florida is on its way as well as other states. Facts show no ill effects from any state that's passed constitutional carry. Another thing HB 272 will fix is a racist vehicle carry restriction citizens suffer with in Alabama. It's ironic that it's legal to openly carry a pistol on my side, yet when I get on a motorcycle with it still in plain view, I'm a criminal in Alabama. Just know that no state that touches Alabama requires a government permission slip to carry in your vehicle. Why should I be a criminal? For simply wanting to protect myself. If I have a pistol in my vehicle and I don't have a government permission slip in Birmingham, I'm a criminal. But if I can make it to the state line, any state line, I'm a law-abiding citizen. We may not be first in football this year, but let's be first on the passing constitutional carry. There's absolutely no reason not to pass this and give us a small amount of our rights back. No reason at all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Now let's have
Mr.
Sheriff.
Chairman.
I'm sorry,
Chairman,
Senator?
just for the record, there are 5 women seated at this table. We're not all gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. You're correct. Very much so. Thank you, Senator Coleman Madison. And yes, ma'am. Okay. Sheriff J. Jones, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I have been before you before, and I appreciate your indulgence once again. I come to you as the elected sheriff of Lee County. Also, as of last night, I've been given the honor to represent the Alabama Sheriff Association as their incoming president. This issue has not changed as far as law enforcement is concerned. I will say some things that you've heard before, but nonetheless, they're still just as important. I respectfully disagree with the proponents of the bill. It does make a difference. And it's all about public safety. It's not about other issues. Public safety is the primary issue here. I just know how this removal of this requirement will affect law enforcement. I speak from 47 years on the job. I've done the job. I know what it does, and I know how it works. And I assure you, it would take away some of our ability to protect our communities with a tool that effectively removes weapons from the hands of criminals. Criminals won't obey the law. I agree 100%. That's why we put them in jail. That's why we take the guns out of their hands to keep our community safe. That's why we uncover evidence of other crimes that this current requirement allows us to do. And it would not be able to do that if it goes away. It doesn't, there's also an issue that in this bill with the database. It sounds good, it's great intention, but it doesn't list the number of times we've been to a house. It doesn't list those that are on the bubble of all trouble that, you know, they're always in the background, but they're never quite out there. These are the kind of people that probably are going to not need a weapon and cause problems in our community. And this database won't do anything about that. It'll never be accurate to the level that will be completely effective to help us in law enforcement. It doesn't in some cases, allow for the issues to identify those with mental illnesses. Those that, again, just on the periphery of the issues that we encounter every day that we need to pay attention to.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff Jones.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, and congratulations on the incoming presidency.
Thank you, sir.
That's awesome. Mr. DJ Parton. That's my sheriff.
Chairman Watley, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak on constitutional carry in front of this committee again. My name is DJ Parton. I'm with the National Association for Gun Rights and represent our members and supporters all across the great state of Alabama. And I speak today in full support of constitutional carry, but I urge you to make one change to this bill. Under current law, if a business says that if a business owner sees somebody carrying a firearm in their business on their property, they can ask the individual to leave. If the person carrying the gun refuses to leave, they are guilty of trespass. It's already covered in current law. The language of this bill, though, says that no person shall carry a pistol on or about his or her person on private property, not his or her own, or under his or her control, unless the person has the consent of the owner or legal possessor. Now, it's not inconceivable that some judge or prosecutor with a grudge to hold could use this language to go after gun owners for not first getting permission from every establishment they visit. Now, I'm sure nobody here wants gun owners going to jail simply for walking into a grocery store or a gas station or somewhere else they have the lawful right to be. But that's exactly what could happen if this change is not made. So that's why I'm asking you to fix the bill to ensure that state law remains the same currently with regards to how gun rights and private property rights interact. With that said, I urge you to pass Constitutional Carry House Bill 2 with this one change to the private property section and no other amendments. Constitutional carry laws recognize the right of every law-abiding citizen to carry a firearm openly or concealed on their person or in their vehicle without having to receive government permission in the form of a mandatory permit. Like it's been mentioned before, 21 other states already recognize the right to carry without a permit, and as we speak, Georgia, Indiana, Nebraska, and Ohio are working to join that list. According to FBI crime statistics, states that have passed constitutional carry into law have both lower violent crime rates and lower murder rates by firearm than non-constitutional carry states. As it's been pointed out, crime rates are rising across the country. There is no correlation between that and constitutional carry. In fact, Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, all three constitutional carry states, are among the safest states in this nation. Further, there is zero evidence to suggest that passing constitutional carry reduces the number of permits applied for. The number of permits that are issued and purchased from citizens fluctuates for various reasons, and constitutional carry legislation is not one of them. So with that said, I urge you to vote for House Bill 272 and make that one change to the private property amendment.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time. Chief Ramona Harris.
Good afternoon, men and women of the committee, and thank you for allowing me to speak before you once again. What I wanted to share with you all this afternoon are some facts. I know we have a lot of opinions on this bill being passed. I just wanted to share the facts of what we see here in Montgomery, Alabama. In 2021, the Montgomery Police Department investigated a record-breaking 77 homicides. Out of those 77 homicides, 69 were committed with a firearm. In 2021, the Montgomery Police Department investigated approximately 330 persons assaulted with firearm cases. In 2021, the Montgomery Police Department impounded approximately 1,700 firearms. There were approximately 200 reported stolen firearms last year. In 2021, the Montgomery Police Department secured approximately 160 warrants for violation of license to carry a concealed pistol. In 2021, the Montgomery Police Department secured approximately 45 warrants for certain persons forbidden to possess a firearm. The 2020 Uniform Crime Report, the FBI cited that the number of homicides in 2020 increased almost 30% from 2019, and about 77% of reported murders in 2020 were committed with a firearm. In 2022, the Montgomery Police Department has investigated 11 homicides. All 11 were committed with a firearm. In 2022, the Montgomery Police Department has investigated 46 cases where people were assaulted with a firearm. In 2022, the Montgomery Police Department has impounded approximately 289 firearms. There has been approximately 94 reported stolen firearms this year. In 2022, the Montgomery Police Department has secured approximately 19 warrants for violation of license to carry a concealed pistol permit. In 2022, the Montgomery Police Department has secured 2 warrants for certain persons forbidden to possess a firearm or a pistol. Based upon the facts, it is clear that access to firearms is a public safety concern when they fall into the hands of dangerous offenders. The ability for law enforcement professionals to identify and remove such threats from within our community is a vital function of police operations. This, we say, is a public safety issue, and I think people term that as law enforcement public safety. When we speak on the terms of public safety, we speak in terms of all citizens of any county here in the state of Alabama, because the issue that we see from a law enforcement standpoint is that the easy accessibility to firearms on the street, whether they're open carry or if they're concealed, is what poses the threat to the dangers that we're seeing with gun violence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Art Tom will speak, and then is Representative Bledsoe out here? There you are. Okay, then we're going to have you speak, and then we're going to call it a day. I know the only one signed up that I'm not calling on is Randy. You're a lobbyist. You've been working this hard. I appreciate you. I love you. I know who you are, but unless somebody wants to hear from you, I'm going to let you be called up in case you can testify. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much. My name is Art Tom. I represent the hundreds of thousands of members of the National Rifle Association as well as lawful gun owners across Alabama. As we discussed the last time that I stood here in front of the committee, in the 21 states that have passed this legislation, there's been absolutely no increase in crime or no decrease in officer safety as associated with the law. That will remain the same here in Alabama. We're hearing all kinds of nonsense, and it's unfortunate. One of the things that you guys probably have seen, Representative Stringer and Senator Allen both have it, is a letter from the West Virginia Sheriff's Association that states simply that they had similar concerns of the Alabama Sheriff's Association. You know, the fear of blood in the streets and crime increased and officer safety decreased. And the letter that they penned to the Alabama legislature clearly states that all of those fears were for nothing. After 5 years of passing a law, none of that stands to be the case. One of the other things that we're talking about, or that was mentioned when it comes to the courthouse annexes, that is absolutely covered in this language. 100% is a judge can issue where a court is going to be. It doesn't matter if it's in an annex, in a building down the street, or Dick's Sporting Goods. If the judge says that it is going to be housed for a hearing of any sort during the time that it is now a courthouse or a courthouse annex. There's also manners for them to get around that. As long as they provide security at the door, they can make any facility off limits. So all of that is covered in 272. We urge you to support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Bledsoe.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this is one of those unique times in my very short legislative career thus far that the worlds that I live in and have lived in for some time collide. I've been serving as a member of law enforcement and I'm still active now of about 24 years. So the comments I'd like to make today are from a perspective of that public safety, and I hope that the members of the committee will take my words as far as experience to heart when we talk about public safety. As the chief of Montgomery mentioned, when we speak of public safety, the men and women in law enforcement know we put our lives in danger every day, but we speak on behalf of the people in our community who seemingly have no voice when it comes to these type issues. And when we talk about public safety, it is with them in mind. The elimination of pistol permits in our state would fundamentally change the way law enforcement conducts business, and it would also very much change the landscape of public safety in our state. And to all due respect to the gentlemen who speak and lobbying on behalf, I hear everyone loud and clear. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment as much as anyone in this room is. There's no one born in this state that doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. But when I look through the lenses of these eyes for 24 years and have dealt with what I've dealt with and what the men and women behind me have dealt with, we unfortunately are looking at things from those men and women in our community who are not law-abiding citizens. They are setting out to commit crime and prey upon the weak. And we're the stop between that, and we want to continue to do that, and that's why it's necessary to have these additional checks in place, because the vast majority of the sheriffs, I've heard the statistics about the sheriffs a few years ago who didn't do it. What about the rest of the sheriffs in our state who have continued to conduct the checks the appropriate way and that have done a great job of those individuals in our community that do not need to be carrying a concealed weapon. So when you sit down to consider this, I would ask you to question the statistics you've been shared. And I would also invite you to do one thing. Take a look at the Heller case by Justice Scalia, one of the most conservative Supreme Court justices we've had in our country, appointed by Ronald Reagan, one of the most conservative presidents we've had. I would invite you to read that case and consider what Justice Scalia had to say on this very topic, and I think it would help you come to your conclusions.
Thank you so very much.
Chairman, thank you.
Representative Stringer, you're on board. Members, feel free to get my attention at this time when you start speaking, and you can ask some questions if you'd like.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. House Bill 272 simply allows law-abiding citizens that are legally able to own a firearm to carry that gun concealed or about their persons or in their vehicle without a permit. House Bill 272 merely states that carrying a holstered weapon or secured weapon without brandishing it is not a violation. This bill also adds a definition for brandishing to help law enforcement deal with people that have their guns anything other than holstered or secured. This bill also leaves in place the existing language regarding restrictions on carrying in certain places, and that includes the court annexes. As it's been said earlier, they can still deem pretty much any building that a judge desires as a court annex, as long as that is being conducted for that purpose. Once that purpose is over, then it has to go back to whatever its purposes is. This bill does not do away with permits, as it's been said. Permits will still be in place. I have spoken to sheriffs in 21 states, and every state that I've spoken to the sheriffs told me that their permits did not drop, that they stayed consistent or increased. Out of 21 states that have this current law, none of the states have either had meetings or repealed the law or even discussed repealing this law. The prohibited person database that was established in the lifetime permit bill last year will also help be a replacement tool, a better tool for law enforcement, a safety tool for law enforcement, better than the permit system that we have currently. Currently, in most of your departments across the state, there are some, but most of their permit offices are only open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. A law enforcement officer cannot typically find out if a permit is valid or good after hours or on weekends. That means that they're forced to let someone drive away from the scene with a weapon, not knowing if it's a valid permit. House Bill 272 requires that any person with a concealed weapon must declare to law enforcement. That was put in downstairs as a safety mechanism for our law enforcement officer. If an officer asks a person if they have a firearm, they have to declare that they do. So that was another safety mechanism we've put in place. So we've done a lot of vetting. We've done a lot of work on this bill downstairs, meeting with different groups and different people to come up with the product we have now. I think that it has a good balance. As a 30-year law enforcement, I will say that the permits have been a great tool. The fact of the matter is things change, times change. We have to adapt and change with that. I do not believe that this is going to harm our law enforcement or even hurt law enforcement in a financial aspect or in a safety issue. Any safety issue that we've had would probably come more from the fact that there were 22 sheriff's departments not running background checks on them and officers assuming that maybe a permit keeps them safe. The fact of the matter is law enforcement assumes every contact that we have, the person is armed and has a weapon. So we are always taking precautions to be safe. And that concludes my part, and other than any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the bill sponsor, Senator Fortier?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand, if it has been a great tool for law enforcement, why does this outweigh that? So what is the benefit that outweighs that of this bill?
Well, the benefit that we have the prohibited person database coming is going to be a better tool. Right now, we live in a technical day and age where officers should have 24/7 access to who is prohibited or who has permits, and we don't have that.
Well, but can't we have that without the things that concern law enforcement so much about this bill, or many folks in law enforcement?
I'm sure there's some that would be okay with that, but I believe that we shouldn't have to get permission to carry. If you're legally able, you shouldn't have to get permission from a sheriff.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Figures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've just been quite baffled. We've been dealing with these gun permit bills or gun bills for years since I've been here. And just when I think nothing worse can come back to us, you guys think of something else. And I guess what I don't understand is how much freedom does one need to carry a weapon? And why is it that you have to have this extra? Just the thought of someone not having a permit, the thought of people knowing they don't have to have a permit is going to give those unlawful citizens, I think, more confidence to carry it. I'm sure the people who shot my house up on June 30th with the assault weapons didn't have any kind of permits, but they're still carrying them. So I just need someone to explain to me, why do you need to do this extra when you already have the right? You have the Second Amendment right to bear arms. And I believe in that. I have a weapon myself. But I just fail to understand, why do you always want to take it another step forward when we've heard law enforcement say they're dealing with this on the streets every day? And I know in Mobile we have so many more shootings right now that it is just unconscionable. It's already like a wild, wild west there. And I can just only imagine that this is going to help it escalate somewhat, because people are going to feel more brazen and more confident that they can just carry it out wherever, and things will happen. People will react. Other things can happen as a result of that. I know I don't feel safe when I see someone out in public who's carrying a gun and it's not concealed. I just don't. There are too many accidents that have happened where weapons have gone off accidentally and innocent people were shot and some were killed. So I just need you to explain to me, what is the dire need and importance of going a step further with a bill like this?
I just am doing exactly what my constituents ask, which is what you do and every member in the legislature does.
No,
Well,
you're the leader. You're supposed to be the leader.
We are elected to represent our constituents, and my constituents brought this issue to me and asked me to carry it, and that's why I'm carrying it.
But you also get information that your constituents don't necessarily get.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's why they elect us to make many decisions on their behalf.
Well, I don't believe that it's big government's position to make all the decisions for our people. There has to be individual choice and consequences to their choices too. So I believe that the Constitution does not require a permit or a sheriff permission to get a permit to carry a weapon. And I respectfully, respect your opinion of it too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you, Senator Figures. I appreciate that. Senator Coleman-Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, how do you account for those persons that are mentally ill or incompetent if you don't require them to get a pistol permit, so they could just go out and buy it?
That's where the prohibited person database will come in and allow to trap that information from our probate courts into that system for law enforcement to have.
Well, I don't know if all that information is readily available. And how do you track? I know our mayor from Birmingham called and he said that they had confiscated over 2,000 unregistered weapons. The homicide rate in our city is constantly rising, as it is in a lot of areas. But just to look at these weapons that were not registered. So how, you said that you were in law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am, 30 years.
For 30 years, did you use this tool as far as people who had, if there was a homicide committed with a weapon, did you use the tool as far as, all right, who was the last owner? Did you go back and use this as a tool to get something as far as to give you some leads?
No, ma'am. The alcohol, tobacco, and firearms will do what they call a trace track on our weapons, any weapon that's used in a crime, and they can track those. They can actually test fire them to see if bullets match up to any weapons used in other assaults or murders.
Senator Albritton.
I wasn't quite finished, but I'm just wondering if you still have to track it to a person. And if you don't have a permit or a record of that person having purchased it, you're still lost. And so I don't see how we support law enforcement. You know, we've got some bills down here, one that says that, you're going to get arrested if you're out there protesting. And this was supposed to be about protecting law enforcement. And so now we come up with a bill to take away the power from law enforcement. But we say that, we are pro police officers and everything and law enforcement, and we want to protect them. This doesn't seem like this does it. This takes away resources and tools that they have that can help them to do their job and protect citizens. And so I'm just, I don't understand how we are assisting them in solving crimes by allowing this. And if I still don't understand what is the big issue why you just insist that, well, we don't want to get a permit. We don't want anybody to know who we are. Quite frankly, I'd like to find out who purchased the bullets and everything. I'd like to go even further. But so right now, this bill is saying we don't want you to have any kind of trace on this. In essence, that's what this is doing.
Senator Singleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I watched a lot of social unrest in this country that happened a couple of years ago, especially around the George Floyd murder. And out of that, there were a lot of people talking about using the word defunding police. And I can remember conservatives standing up and saying liberals are just trying to defund the police. Well, I see this as a defund the police bill, because there are many of these officers who utilize these dollars to be able to buy protective gear, to buy radios, vests, defibrillators, all those things that they need to protect officers, other weapons for officers. And we're about to defund them and take that money away from them. And I can't believe that this Republican caucus is ready to defund the police, and they've been talking about liberals are defunding police across this nation. And that's what this is all about. Because while you may not be taking money out of the budget directly from sheriffs or from sheriff department, but when you do this bill, you are taking money directly from their hands that they'll utilize. I know if this comes out of my small sheriff department, which maybe have 6 or 8 sheriffs, deputies in it, it will hurt their budget. It's going to hurt a lot of these sheriffs' budgets, and based on those things that I know that they spend those dollars on, it's going to hurt them tremendously, Mr. Chairman. So I would just ask y'all not to defund the police.
Thank you. Senator Stutz, do you have an amendment?
I do. Thank you. Is proper time to offer the amendment?
Proper time to offer the amendment. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me pass the copy around to you. This amendment basically restores the private property rights back to what they are in the current code. You have to communicate to the person carrying the firearm that they're not allowed on private property. And then secondly, they would be prosecuted as a criminal trespass.
Thank you, Senator Stutz. You offer the amendment. It's offered by Senator Stutz, second by Senator Devan. Roll call vote on the amendment. Okay, back up here, and Senator Marsh.
I just want clarity on the amendment. Was it cleaned up the business language? Yes, that's correct. Cleans up the trespass on private property. It returns it to what the current code says. So it's not really changing anything from the current code of trespassing on private property.
Roll call on the amendment.
Senator Albritton, Senator Coleman Madison.
Aye.
Senator Figures. Senator Gavan. Senator Marsh. Senator Orr. Senator Sanders Fortier. Senator Singleton.
Aye.
Senator Smitherman. Senator Stutz. Senator Barfoot. Senator Watley.
Aye. Bill was adopted. Senator Albritton, do you have an amendment?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have passed out an amendment for you. This is an amendment that I've worked on with the leadership. Senator Reed and such has worked with me closely on this. And this is, the purpose of this is to create a program to issue grants to offices of the sheriff to replace the pistol permit revenue. We recognize that they rely on this revenue. And so what we have here is a method and means whereby we can set and have monies available to make up for those. There's requirements, of course, for showing what the losses are, and there's a time limit. There's three-year time limit on this.
Mr. Chairman.
Offered by Senator Albritton, second by Senator Orr. Senator Singleton.
Why should the citizens, all the citizens of the state of Alabama, be responsible for that when the sheriffs already have a mechanism to be able to do that just by collecting their permits money? We're now going over and above to take money from something else that we could be funding to try to replace some money to be able, when the money is already there. Why are we going this extra step, Mr. Chairman, of the budget?
That's an excellent question, but we're doing this in order to make sure that should this bill pass, that we'll have a means to protect those benefits that the money has been doing. We don't want to jerk that rug out from under our sheriffs.
I appreciate you bringing this, but I'm just saying, you see where I'm coming from. I mean, it just makes no sense to have to do this bill, to do this amendment to this bill when, you know, we don't have to be doing this bill at all, okay? I mean, it just makes no sense. Now we've been to spend probably another $5 million somewhere or more of taxpayers' money
estimate. Yes, sir.
To give back to sheriffs for what they may be making up when they are already making that money already. That just makes no sense to me. Thank you very much.
Senator Singleton. Seeing no further discussion on the amendment, amendment's been offered. Any objection to the previous roll? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Amendment's adopted. Senator Coleman Madison.
Is this on the amendment? Is that the Auburn's amendment, or we're talking about the last?
This is Senator Albritton's amendment.
Oh, I'm voting no on that.
Okay. Mark Senator Coleman Madison as a no, please. Bill received, but the amendment is adopted on a 10 to 11 to 1 vote here. Okay. Senator Orr, do you have an amendment?
Well, I did have an amendment, and it's before the committee members, but it's not the exact one that I wanted to have. So I tell you that to tell the Senate sponsor, is that Senator
Allen?
Okay. I'll have a improved amendment regarding courthouse annexes on the floor for the consideration. So no amendment at this time.
Thank you very much, Senator Orr. Senator Barfoot, do you have an amendment?
I do, and let me kind of echo what Senator Orr said. My amendment is not in the format that I would like to present it to committee today, but let me tell the committee members what the purpose of my amendment is and what you will see on the floor. My amendment is basically states that if you're a driver of an occupant of a vehicle and law enforcement comes in contact with you, that they can secure that weapon for a particular purpose and for a specific amount of time in order to conduct their business there. Once that business is through, under more circumstances than not, they would return that immediately to the owner or the occupants of the vehicle, and then they could go on about their business. The second issue that this amendment addresses is that if during the traffic stop an individual, it's a do not touch type of an amendment where during that interaction with law enforcement, unless asked to by law enforcement personnel, an individual will be prohibited from touching, grabbing that firearm, pistol in that case. I'll get that in a better format. I intended to offer that today. I will offer that on the floor. I will say, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Parton, you bring up Parton brought up a very good issue.
We don't want folks who are law-abiding citizens to become unwittingly criminals. And so thank you for that. From a law enforcement standpoint, I do believe that these amendments facilitate the what the goal is of the bill, but still provide some protection for law enforcement. That's my goal.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Seeing no further discussion on the bill, I move favorable report, second by Senator Barfoot. Roll call vote. Okay, roll call vote.
Senator Albritton?
Right now, I'm going to have to abstain. I got another amendment that I may have to put on. I'm going to hold off on that until we get to the floor, but I'll abstain vote at this point.
Senator Coleman Madison?
Aye.
Senator Figures?
No.
Senator Gavan?
Oh, wait, excuse me, I'm sorry. Are we voting on the amendment or
On the
we're
bill?
voting on the?
The bill.
You said to
We're on the
favorable report.
We're on the bill now. The favorable report on the
So
bill.
we are.
We've adopted two amendments.
I
We've
have
explained
said-
two others. Right. He did.
Oh,
Okay, but we are voting on favorable
Favorable
report.
report. You would like to change your vote?
yes, change mine to no.
Please change Senator Coleman Madison's vote, please. Continue on the roll call.
Senator Gavan?
And I did say no. right?
Senator Marsh? Senator Orr? Senator Sanders Fortier? Senator Singleton? Senator Smitherman? Senator Stutz? Senator Barfoot?
Aye.
Senator Watley?
Aye. Bill says favorable report 64. If the clerk could, Senator Figures.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm going to start working on an amendment to say that when things come to pass of what these law enforcement officials have brought before us, when those things come to pass, somebody needs to pay for it. And I don't know who it is, but something needs to be done, because it doesn't make sense to pass these bills and put people's lives in danger and somebody not pay for making these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Figures. The clerk could call the next bill on the calendar. And ladies and gentlemen, I think this will be the last one we get to. We're the others have some discussion that we'll take, and we will have those three bills up next week. But I do want to get to Senator Singleton here.
SB 215 by Senator Singleton.
Yes, under the Pardon and Parole Board, this bill would set up create a criminal justice policy development council to oversee and development or implementation of risk and needs assessment for offenders who are on parole and probation. And they will have to deal with these guidelines to make sure that based on assessment before a person is given probation or parole. And what it does is set up to where it would have an appeal process that goes from and I think I have an amendment here, that goes straight to the Court of Criminal Appeals, but I have an amendment that I want to offer that will allow it to go to the circuit court and then to the Criminal Appeals Court.
If the clerk can receive the amendment.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Auburn.
A quick question. Is this in essence setting up a second pardon and parole board?
No, it's not.
No, sir.
This is just a council who's going to sit up to make sure that guidelines are there, and the Board of Pardon and Paroles would then adhere to those guidelines.
And I do think the Senate and the House have a member on that committee, correct?
Right now, it's not.
Okay.
Someone wanted. I think it may be on the House version.
Okay, the House. Okay.
Yes. So this is not setting up another.
But it will be one that will have ability to influence or control how the pardons.
No, once they set it up, it will dissolve. The board will dissolve once they set up these basic guidelines that work with. I think Director Ward will be on that board, someone from LSA, and someone else from the Sentencing Commission.
And the purpose is to set up guidelines for release or
yes, as they look up, for the assessment of the release. Yes.
Senator Singleton, would you like me to chime in a little bit?
Yes, please.
The intention in the House version that I've seen is that you would have this committee set up and they would develop some guidelines that the Bureau would use, not the board, but the Bureau, the people that work for Director Ward. And they then, and I might be 100% wrong, but don't think I am, then they would take these guidelines, the Bureau employees, and they would go meet with inmate Albritton, talk to you, about why you're there.
Now you're really personal, but go ahead.
Yeah. And then they'd make an assessment and make a recommendation, and they'd have a whole, whatever they come up with, the questions and procedures and guidelines or whatever, and then that would be presented to the board. And the board could use that as a comprehensive, kind of uniform procedure for how they're going to deal with something instead
Thank you
of
for that.
Okay.
Chair, thank you.
And the board is already following guidelines, but the board almost given a explanation as to why if they deviate from those guidelines.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct.
They may adopt the guidelines the board currently uses.
Thank you for that explanation.
Senator Stutz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It just seems to me that it's unnecessary, that it clogs up the system more.
No,
I can't see how it's going to streamline any of the process or make it more fair.
Well, what happens is that you got these employees who go and work and get them ready for the parole, right? If Bobby Singleton is due for parole on March 1st, right? Well, someone's going to come to me. They're going to go through an assessment with me, whether I'm ready to go before that board. And what they would do is then turn around, take the information and give it back to the Board of Pardon and Parole. They would look at that instead of just saying, well, I don't want to give Bobby Singleton parole because he don't wear his shirt the right way or whatever. They deny me, but at least have some guidelines that they can check off to say whether or not this person is duly worthy of that. And right now, a lot of that is not happening.
So is the goal to get more people parole?
No,
not necessarily get them parole, but we're clogged up right now. But at least streamline the process.
Senator, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
Senator, I think the goal is to set up standards like we have sentencing guidelines. I think that's the goal, is to set up standards that the board could follow that would be uniform across the board. Senator Forefoot.
Generally speaking, those standards I believe should be in place as a guidepost or a guide rail to what the board's looking at. I do have some issues or concerns with it in its current format.
Thank you. We received the amendment. Senator Singleton offers the amendment. I'll give it a second. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Remember, the amendment is adopted. We're back on the bill. Any further discussion on the bill? I will say, is the Attorney General's office here today? I don't want to speak for the Attorney General. I do think they're against this bill. I just want to make that known to the members. So with that said, Senator Singleton, do you move? I'm sorry.
Move for approval.
Move for approval is amended by Senator Coleman Madison, second by Senator Singleton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. And the bill receives a favorable report. Thank you very much, and the committee is adjourned.
It's a good bill, guys. Y'all need to read it.
Read it with your other eye this time.
Confirmation is meeting right now.
Yeah. So has it not already been done?